What's up guys, it's Powerbang and welcome back to another Brawl Stars guide. This one we're going to be looking at Colt. Colt is the all-American gun-slinging six-shooter. He is a ranged attacker and his purpose is to kind of sit back, pick and pop, take out the enemy and do some significant damage while not getting involved in those melee fights. He's got pretty low HP at around 600 base hit points. Obviously those can be increased by improving your hit point ability with the elixir. His primary attack is called Six-Shooters, perfectly fitting. Colt fires 2 long-range revolvers in a blaze of glory. How many bullets do these things need anyways? His super ability is called Bullet Train. Colt spins his chambers, rattling off a massive burst of bullets that will shred through almost anything. Those abilities are perfectly themed with the traditional Western style hero that they're going for here. Let's talk a little bit about Colt's strengths and weaknesses first off, as he has some interesting characteristics, and this is probably the most vanilla character if I had to describe it in the entire game. Let's start with his strengths. He has very high damage output. He can be absolutely lethal from long range. He can puncture through walls with his super ability Bullet Train, so that super ability actually has a little bit longer range than his normal attack. Colt can strafe back and forth to accurately mirror his opponent's movements. That way all of his shots can land and he can deal an absolute load of damage. If you can connect from the start to the finish of a burst from Colt's six-shooters, you can take down an enemy in one burst. Let's start with a long line of weaknesses for this particular brawler. Colt is very basic without much usefulness to a team. In short, he lacks utility. He has no crowd control abilities, no movement buffs of any kind, no gap closures, nor escape abilities. He makes Colt kind of a sitting duck in most occasions, so he has to be very mindful of his positioning and really understand where he is on the battlefield at all times. He's easy to flank, and once you get in close on Colt, you can deal a world of hurt. Colt is also a little bit fragile. At only 600 hit points, it only takes 1 or 2 shots from some of the game's stronger characters to take him out. That being said, usually you have to get into range, and Colt is pretty proficient at holding people off, provided you can aim well. One of the biggest weaknesses that I found with Colt is that when a new player picks him up to play for the first time, while it intuitively makes sense how to play him, the skill cap is relatively high for this player. It makes sense how to play him, but doing it well is a whole nother story. To play Colt, get a feel for like the nuances and the way the character behaves, and really a lot of practice in order to start landing the shots that you need to land in order to make him an effective character. Let's talk a little bit about tactics and tips for using Colt. Colt can be very useful in puncturing those pesky walls or cover with his super ability. Using the Bullet Train, you can absolutely destroy places where enemies might be hiding when it comes to bushes or walls, or even in game modes like Heist, you can crack the wall that goes into the enemy safe. I highly recommend using Colt's super ability when more than one opponent line up, so to speak, even if they're behind a wall, as the super will go through it. Do your best to stay out of the thick of the fray. Stay out of battle and on the back lines with Colt. He doesn't have any ways to get away, nor is he good close up, so play support to your tankier teammates. Try to pick and pop and do damage every so often to chip away so your melee teammates can swoop in, rather than a long, drawn-out fight where they're losing hit points as well. Use your beefier teammates as bait. When opponents swoop in to attack, you can play the hero and fry them before your teammate is harmed. Specifically looking at game modes, Colt's super is super useful on smash and grab, where people try to hide behind the walls close to the gem mine. Colt can actually take out that wall and leave the enemy with nowhere to hide. That allows your team to control the center of the map and thus the gem mine. The Bullet Train super is also great for Heist. As we mentioned before, you can take out the wall guarding the safe from quite a ways away, and that opens up a clear path for melee characters and others that don't have attacks where walls get in the way. As we previously alluded to, Colt's best game modes are smash and grab and Heist. His worst game modes are Showdown and Bounty. Showdown he really struggles with in a 1v1 situation with his low hit points as well as limited maneuverability while being effective. I suppose a very talented Colt player could still make it work, but there are better options. He could work on Bounty as well, but again, it's not his best suited game mode. You're likely better off choosing another brawler. Let's take a look at how Colt stacks up to some of the other brawlers. His favorable matchups include Ricochet, Brock, El Primo, and Bull. Ricochet and Brock, quite frankly, do a lot of damage, but Colt simply can out-damage them if he can simply get into range. Dodge one shot, land his, he can pick and pop and pick those guys apart. He slightly outweighs Ricochet when it comes to hit points, and he's even with Brock, so it all comes down to who is more accurate. El Primo and Bull are 2 other brawlers that Colt stacks up favorably against. It's very difficult for El Primo and Bull to get into range of Colt, so as long as he's kiting and running away, the extreme amount of damage that Colt can do really stacks up against characters like Bull and El Primo. Their bigger bodies also make for a bigger target for Colt to land on. Difficult matchups, while numerous, are as follows for Colt. Bo is very challenging because of his explosive arrows and the ability to set traps and kind of control movement on the battlefield. Colt needs to be able to move freely around, dodging shots while still landing some of his own, ducking in and out of cover, and Bo can kind of negate that with his explosive arrows. Another difficult matchup is Nita. Not only is Nita really strong, but her bear can be just as strong against Colt. It has the second highest amount of hit points in the game, only to El Primo, and that bear can act as basically a meat shield as Colt is being approached from behind. His traditional attack does not penetrate, so Nita can stand behind her bear and drop her rupture ability to do damage to Colt while she is unharmed thanks to the shield of the bear. Lastly, we have Jessie. In addition to a really strong primary attack, Jessie has Scrappy. Scrappy's the turret that can really do a great job holding and pinning down characters behind a wall. That allows Jessie to flank and also have her way with characters who like to sit behind cover. Characters that do sit behind cover typically stay there as they're being approached, so Jessie can then chuck that turret over the wall, which fires upon Colt, and that way Jessie can come around the corner, they can engage Colt two at the same time, and Colt will have a problem dealing with that for sure. Hard counters to Colt include Mortis. Mortis is probably the most common hard counter because he is a melee hero and he has no difficulty at all getting into range to take out characters that have difficulties playing against melee characters. Mortis's dash ability is devastating. Not only can he get into range quickly, but he does a decent amount of damage, and 3 swipes with Mortis is enough to take out Colt, so if he gets into range, it's all over, provided that he doesn't miss. To wrap up this guide, we'll leave you with this thought. Colt is the all-American brawler like we talked about. Unfortunately, he just isn't all that great in most people's hands. Colt can be very difficult to get all of your bullets to go where you'd like them to go, and he lacks many of the utilities that other brawlers offer. But there is an owner for everyone, and even Colt will find somebody who can strike fear in the hearts of others when they're at his controls. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. Make sure you check the links in the description. We have plenty more guides available for you, including a Brawl Stars wiki on our website, so make sure you check that out. That's all I have for the time being. Like the video if you would, and if you're new here, please subscribe for more Brawl Stars content. This is Powerbang, and I will see you guys in the next video.